The Batmobile was just a bigger, more souped-up version of the one we'd had before.
Everything was more bigger,
all the way around,
more dramatic.
The accountants at the studio would love us to have gone to the storage and got out the old Batmobile. They said, look, we got two of them sitting back there. Why don't you go and get one of those? Just wouldn't have fit. You couldn't have put that Batmobile in our movie.
Don't leave home without it.
I think fans of Batman want to come and see a new gadget designed that's going to be different from the gadgets of the last movie.
The old Batmobile was saved us a hell of a lot of money. I mean, it's a Batmobile. The first one's real expensive. The second one is reasonable priced. But the first one is really, really expensive.
It all comes down to really how great your shop is, I think, with vehicles. And we use great guys at TFX.
I got a call from Barbara. Barbara said, we're going to make another Batman. Can you believe it?
You now know, oh, if I could do it one more time, I would do.
It was a very lucky day that I met with a friend who said Batman is starting up and they're looking for a vehicle designer. It started out to be based on classic 50s cars with big fenders. We spent a lot of time working out a shape that sort of morphs out of a bullet. So I think that was dropped at some point because the transition was just too crazy over the top. Can't believe I said that.
The inspiration became more the silhouette, becoming something larger, becoming more of a sleek, almost kind of knife cutting through the night sky, so to speak. And the idea of being able to see the engine as something on its own. We gave them a drawing, they would digitize the drawing, and then we'd cut it out of foam as a miniature. And then I could reshape once they put that into clay, then look at the full scale with it.
Barbara had a vision of this single-seat, open car. Let's make Batman part of the Batmobile. Let's see him sitting in there. So we put it in the center, as far back into the vehicle as we could, and made as long a vehicle.
Longest in history, possibly.
Yeah, we even sheeted the front track so it's wider than the rear track so that it looked like it was this ominous thing that was coming at you and was never going to stop. It was also painted gloss black, and gloss black, is the worst color for showing imperfections in the surface. So a huge effort went into absolutely perfect vehicle surfaces.
The car was really complex. It had a lot of different systems on it. It was basically a NASCAR chassis. The driver had his own fire system. On top of that, the flame system had its own CO2 purge system. Redundant electrical had 12-volt systems and 110-volt systems. The effects lighting was separate from the operation of the vehicle. A lot of them could be operated from the cockpit. There's also radio control on it, so that all the driver really had to do is hold the wheel and drive the car.
It was fun to see the Batmobile drive, really more than anything, was to be able to have some sort of sense of what this machine can do.
One of the systems that I think was the most unique was the nose of the vehicle had to look like it had multiple rings revolving in different directions. One of our designers proposed an idea where we would place openings strategically cut, and he would change the speed of how fast this cone turned.
That was something that's a really simple idea, but we had to go to the camera, find out what frame rate they were shooting, shoot the cone, and dial the speed so that it was matched so that the camera would see it correctly. So there was some prep time, and as far as Batmobiles and Batman movies, that's the money shot, yeah.
The lighting was also chasing the interior on a lot of electroluminescence paper, and it almost looked like a pinball machine in terms of all the different things that were going on there. But in terms of their function, they really didn't show up as something other than just in a couple of spots where, he used it to communicate. Creating a flame that actually projects straight out is a challenge, and the way we solved it was we basically built mini rocket motors.
We shot nitrous oxide as an oxidizer down the middle to oxidize the fuel so it wouldn't just wick out, it would actually burn. So they're pretty hot.
We had to acquire special tires from Goodyear, and I had some contacts with Goodyear and asked them to cut bat tread in what's considered a prototype tire. They call them smooth mold tires. They're produced so that the tire companies can try out different treads. To some degree, I kind of regret it because the car was so spectacular in terms of the rest of it. Everybody always noticed the tires.
When we roll it around, you can see that it would leave bats, bat trail.
Little bats everywhere. Before Batman and Robin, there was just one Batmobile. I think the only Batmobile that exists as a single unit. There was never another one built. Then Mr. Freeze's truck, which was also a one-off. Other than that, the rest of the vehicles, there was at least two. Robin's motorcycle, the Redbird, there were four. The ice vehicles for Batgirl, Batman, and Robin, there were two each on all of those. Primarily because there were a lot of stunts that were being performed, a lot of different setups that had to happen with those. And they had a similar theme.
Batman always had the bigger, more luxurious, more elegant vehicle. Robin, for the street, had the Redbird, and then he had the Skiff, which was smaller.
It was a snowmobile chassis with this enormous fan on the back. Charlie and I said, well, you know, we can simulate these vehicles driving on ice without actually going on ice. We can put tires and hide them on the snowmobiles. And we talked about where they race snowmobiles on asphalt, which is kind of a crazy sport, but they actually do it. And they replace the front skids with very small skateboard wheels. It saved us all a lot of anguish, I think.
We had to put supplemental cooling systems on the snowmobiles because they cool by radiating the heat out onto snow that splashed up in the bottom plate. And we actually had to put radiators in them and all, integrate them, but they converted over pretty well. They ran.
Don't wait up, Al.
The Redbird, the motorcycle, was a very sleek speed form in the beginning with a long tail.
We kind of did a play on the furthest scale of Japanese bikes that would morph, and then putting in kind of the Robin symbol, the way the wings flap around on the sides of that, and that became a very exciting vehicle.
The Batmobile on two wheels thing. And you turn, it was, you know, you're almost gonna fall over. This thing was like, I was afraid to drive it.
Mr. Freeze's vehicle, I started with Raymond Loewy's Deco 30s locomotive. You know, I loved the shape of that. And we played with that and everything coming out of it, that it dug through things.
We made it out of foam with about 6 layers of fiberglass on it for structure. And then we had some soft aluminum. We bought it in rolls and had it sent to a place where they actually applied adhesive on the back, self-peel adhesive. We cut off and actually applied to the surface and then pressed rivets and appeared like it was metal. But it's actually metal surface, but it was underlying with fiberglass.
The other interesting thing was absolutely almost quiet because it was run by an electric motor. So it was this big silent silver shape, that shiny aluminum shape that looked like a locomotive.
It was one thing to see it sitting there, but as soon as it started moving, wow.
Lots and lots of neon, lots of LEDs, lots of chasing lights. The point that Barbara wanted to make is that there's an immense power or an immense complexity to this amazing piece of equipment that he drives around in. So to get that across in the nighttime...
What do you have to work with other than lighting?
Yeah, so...
Otherwise it's dark.
It had to be massive, because the suit itself was massive.
The first version we built didn't fit through the door.
Oh, the door on the set.
So we had to go back and start over and make another
Narrow
one.
it up. The piece we had that we didn't use, we actually used for the punch the wall scene. We gutted it for that, so that worked out okay.
Now!
I had a chance to go back and say, it's really rare in life. If I could do it again, I would. Well, we had a chance.
There was just so much freedom and so much joy in designing something like the Batmobile. To see things then come real was just fantastic.
Alfred is very efficient to
Yeah.
get all that stuff built.
He's got a crew of elves, I think.
Yeah,
that,
something. We couldn't figure it out. But he's pretty
we're Alfred's elves, I guess.